GamingBolt presents 15 cut content instances which would have made these video games even more awesome. Even great games may have had some content cut somewhere in development. These stellar titles had some things left on the cutting room floor. We can't help but wonder what they would have been like with these bits of content added. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Despite Metal Gear Solid 5 being Hideo Kojima's magnum opus, many players couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. It was later revealed that episode 51 was indeed cut, and all signs point to it containing a rather healthy chunk of story. Sadly, we'll never get to see the ending as Kojima intended it, but we can dream. Half-Life 2. If you thought the Combine were bad in Half-Life 2, you should hear about the original version of the game. Meant to be much darker, most of this version of the game was changed. The Combine were harvesting minerals from the oceans, covering Earth in toxic gases in the process. Everything was much more bleak and desperate, showing a world on the brink of collapse. Maybe we'll get to see some of this if Half-Life 3 ever surfaces. GTA 5. The heists were by far the pinnacle of GTA 5's story, but what if there were more? A mission titled the Sharmuta Job was scrapped, featuring a preparation mission where the player rode a horse. The entire scenario sounds bizarre and crazy, a perfect fit for the world of Grand Theft Auto 5. Portal 2. Portal 2 didn't just give players the first game with more puzzles. The different types of paint changed traversal, leading to much more complex solutions to puzzles as Shell bounced throughout rooms. But a cut type of paint was said to have given Shell the ability to walk along walls and ceilings, completely changing perspective and opening up all sorts of puzzle opportunities. Destiny. Destiny had a reportedly rough development. Not only was the story radically changed at the last minute, but also large swaths of gameplay were cut. Large-scale faction wars would have given battles a sense of meaning, but these were cut along with new zones that could have greatly helped Destiny in an area it's lacking: diversity. Shadow of the Colossus. The cut content in Shadow of the Colossus is pretty serious. If you thought the game's 16 enemies were enough, then think again. There were 32 other colossi that were eventually removed from the game. With these new beasts came extra areas where you could do battle with these titans. A shame we'll never get to see the hulking forms of those extra enemies. Crash Bandicoot. The jorts-wearing marsupial defined what a platformer is for a generation of gamers. But would you believe us if we told you that there were a plethora of playable levels cut from the game? The first game in this series is reportedly the only one to have actually had levels cut. The level Astound the Skunk tasked players with hopping along the side of a cliff, with the footholds becoming increasingly perilous. There's also a waterfall level that included slippery terrain, which made platforming quite a bit more troublesome. Minecraft. The blocky landscapes of Minecraft could have been much more dangerous and varied. New enemies patrolled the world, making things even more difficult for players. But there would also be dozens of new textures that hint at even more features and enemies. The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina may be touted as one of the best games of all time. But even with all the things you could do, there was even more to be seen originally. There were apparently extra cutscenes, guiding players to more enigmatic parts of the game. There were also unused traps. There was a strange purple rupee that explodes if you get too close. Each song on the ocarina was supposed to be its own collectible item, shown as a coloured music note. And on top of this, the song that is used to call Epona used to be attached to a reed whistle, similar to that in Twilight Princess. So a lot of the mechanics that make the game what it is today were once used in very different ways. And that's not even covering things like Link shooting a beam from his sword when his hearts are full. Undertale. Undertale is already a bustling game, filled with ingenious combat mechanics, adorable enemies, and plenty of witty humour. This is even more impressive considering it was made by one man. But with all the fantastic moments that made it in, many were left on the cutting room floor. Many more dog enemies, entire areas, and even some battle options were left out. There are dozens of unused audio files, hinting at alternate versions of fantastic tracks or entire areas that were removed completely. KOTOR 2. KOTOR 2 appears to be missing quite a bit of content, but nimble-fingered players can find many of them hidden away within the game's files. Many alternate endings still lie unfinished, hinting at a much wider narrative that could have given us a more satisfying conclusion to the story. While repairing the Ebon Hawk, there were a plethora of options that developers cut, including dialogue options and side missions. There was even content featuring the famous human-hating HK-47. Despite only being small additions, it all sounds like things that would have fleshed out the fantastic world of Star Wars even further. Halo 2. Despite Halo 2's abrupt ending, its cut content isn't levels, it's enemies and vehicles. The additions are mainly more variations on the decrepit Flood, but the biggest cut is the sprint. Not only was sprinting in the game, but if the player sprinted while dual-wielding SMGs, they would drop the guns and stick up their middle finger. Also scrapped was the Sharakwai, a new species of Covenant. A thick shell covered its back, 2 large claws protruding from its stumpy arms. There are also 2 levels that didn't make it into the final product. The Forerunner tank and Covenant ship may have given us a less abrupt ending, but we can only dream. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Kain was missing more than a few pieces when his adventure hit store shelves. Several abilities, enemies, items, and locations were all cut. It's a true shame that creatures like wolf-like vampires didn't make the cut. As strange as they may seem out of context, we would have loved to hack our way through these bizarre creatures that never saw the light of day. Other missing characters included female vampires and winged vampires, and just reading the names of the cut areas is enough to get us excited. Titles like the Elemental Reaver Forges and Churalim Clan Territory paint exciting pictures that we'll never get to experience. Red Dead Redemption. Hunting down bounties is a great way to kill time in the Old West, but Red Dead Redemption apparently had even more desperados to hunt down originally. More than 10 other outlaws were slated to be put in the game, several of these belonging to Dutch's gang. The game is great as is, but these extra missions could have given us even more to do in John Marston's slice of the West. Before the release of Undead Nightmare, there was also a dead horse that could be found in the game. It was sadly removed, along with Nora Hawkins, an unused NPC that had a couple of new and exciting side quests tied to her. By the looks of it, most of the cut content would have merely added a couple more quests for characters to chase. Mario. The original Super Mario Bros. Is known as a timeless classic, but there was originally even more content that would have added to the intensity of the breakneck platforming. Small touches like slightly altered enemy patterns seem inconsequential, but would likely have added even more foils to the plumber's adventures. Super Mario 64 also had plenty of content left out. Underwater bombs could have opened up new avenues of gameplay, as could trampolines and red and green Koopa shells. There are sure to be plenty of Mario ideas still floating around Shigeru Miyamoto's brain.
And that wraps it up. What are your thoughts about this? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and share it on Twitter and Facebook. And why not consider subscribing? We upload some really cool videos almost every day. Thank you for watching this video and happy gaming!